Between 10 and 11 a.m. this morning, law enforcement made a traffic stop involving a vehicle carrying several relatives of Vance Belter, including his wife.
Well, this is getting interesting. The wife of the man who assassinated the Minnesota lawmaker has been detained. But that is not the interesting part. Apparently, Jennifer Bolter, the wife, has worked for Tim Walz in the past. And if you recall, the assassin was on a board for Tim Walz back in 2019. So in this video, we're gonna go over some new updates and details regarding this case. Now, before we start the video, as you know, please like the video. It is by far the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well, and people need to see what's happening right now. Here we go.
We have talked to an eyewitness who says about a dozen law enforcement squads converged on the vehicle and remained on the scene for 2 to 3 hours. We are also told by several of our sources the vehicle contained a weapon, ammunition, cash, and passports. Now, to our knowledge, no one in that group has been arrested, just detained for questioning. It's also unclear why they were stopped, whether they were being tracked, or if it was a random traffic stop.
Okay, so we found weapons, we found passports. One thing I want to tell you is this. As far as the investigative team giving out information with this case, they are being super hush-hush. Like we know with the assassin's vehicle, there were no King's flyers, and the investigative team told everybody about that. And they said there was a manifesto, but inside the manifesto, we're not going to tell you anything other than there was a hit list in it. We'll get to that later.
She was being tracked. So this was not a random traffic stop. They had an idea of where she was, and they were able to track her down. Again, we're still gathering more details, and we'll have much more coming up tomorrow.
Okay, so Jennifer worked for Tim Walz. This is back in 2010. From August 23rd to December 31st, she was an intern for Tim Walz when he was a representative. So this case is becoming more complex every day, because now we have the assassin. He was on one of the boards for Tim Walz when he was a governor, and now we have his wife also had worked for Tim Walz way in the past, 2010.
I found a list inside of that car that he had at one of the lawmakers' homes. Remember, they said that it looked like a police cruiser with lights flashing, and now sources are telling us a bit more about exactly who was on that list that was found in the car. They're saying that it included multiple Democratic lawmakers, both at the state and the federal level. That included Governor Tim Walz, who we heard speaking earlier today. It includes the Democratic State Attorney General, Keith Ellison. It also includes Congressman Ilhan Omar, who, of course, is quite outspoken and known from that state, and another senator from Minnesota, Tina Smith. So those are high-level, notable names. We're also told that investigators are looking into.
Now, if you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can give you more updates on this story and other stories like this throughout the United States. Okay, so now we're being told that Governor Tim Walz, well, he's actually in the manifesto, and not only that, he was on the list as far as who the assassin wanted to take out. Again, I'm just trying to point out how complex this case is, considering these two have both worked for Tim Walz in the past, again, in the sense of a political relationship.
Pow, 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 pow. And I went, that's not a friggin' car backfiring. I said, that sounded like gunshots, and I'm talking to myself. And I got up and I went to the patio door here and I looked out, opened it up. I didn't see anything. But then all at once I seen a dark black car backing out of the Hoffman's driveway. And as he backed out, he turned his headlights on and put the police lights on. And I thought, what the heck's the cop leaving the scene after the gunshots?
So that was the neighbor of one of the lawmakers describing what he saw and heard. And remember, the description is, well, the assassin looked like a police officer, and what you can see here is the actual assassin. Dressed as an officer, he has a flesh mask on, and again, he has full kit, he has the whole gloves, the flashlight, and this is in the early morning, so you're already a little disoriented, but as you can see, it's true, he looks like an officer. This is a very creepy photo.
So knowing what we know now, I asked him, did you think that was suspicious? Did you get a weird gut feeling? Did you call 911? And he said, No, because I thought that was police. He said, I saw that car just like everybody else. And we've heard this from law enforcement officials. They believe that Senator Hoffman and his wife and Representative Hortman and her husband came to the door believing this was law enforcement because all the context clues were there, including that car. Cut to, Clarence says 10 minutes later, suddenly this area was swarming with police officers.
Now, for those of you that are unaware, if you're wondering, well, how did he get access to a cop car? It wasn't a cop car, it was a security car that looked like a cop car because the assassin was tied to a security company, so it suggested that he had access to these type of vehicles.
Whether or not this suspect or person of interest was possibly motivated by extreme views on abortion. So a little bit more coming out about who this individual could have been targeting and perhaps why. But again, we've heard from law enforcement that this is a rapidly developing situation. They're getting more information and they are also learning as they go.
Now, when it comes to Vance, he must be very crafty because nobody has found him yet, but he was spotted apparently wearing a cowboy hat. Again, this guy is a trained security personnel and he obviously knows what he's doing. He's been evading police now for over 24 hours plus.
He was seen last this morning wearing light-colored cowboy hat that you can see up here in the clothing there, with dark-colored long-sleeve collared shirt or coat, light pants, and carrying a dark bag. We still don't know if additional people are involved, but this individual is the one that we're looking as a person of interest right now. But there may be other people with him, and we would like to speak to anybody that may have had contact with him at any point in time. So please connect with us, even if this has been some time ago today, so that we can follow up and continue to work together to keep our communities safe.
That's right, you heard that correctly. There might be more people involved. Again, when it comes to this case, we're talking about a very small amount of information is being released to the public. And for obvious reasons, because Vance must be paying attention, because the fact that this guy is still at large and they can't find him, and he even engaged police officers in a firefight and still got away, this guy is very dangerous.
Yes, so the question was regarding the sophistication of the individual based on reports that he owned a security company. I certainly can't get into the details of the investigation. That'll all be part of that, and we'll explore all of that. We're aware of the connections that you reference, and the team will be dissecting that between the investigators, Brooklyn Park Police Department, and all of the state, the local, and federal partners that are working on that. Certainly, an individual will have some familiarity if that's the line of work that they're in with some of the tactics that you noted, but we'll be exploring that more fully.
Now, I do want to get back to this hit list. Remember, there were others on the list, and we're being told there might be others who are involved with this political attack. Well, we have an update as far as what the response is.
Morgan, everybody on this list right now is being protected by police, law enforcement, and probably the FBI as well. More likely the FBI. They're beyond that initial grid right now. This just happened at 3:30 in the morning. So now we're past that grid that they had locked down. We're looking for this individual in many places. I believe they have, as they said, they have a POI. So this seems to be they have this individual identified. Now is they have to find him and see how much planning he did in the aftermath of this attack. Those officers who engaged at that second house today probably saved lives of other politicians, other elected officials, on that list, because that person looked like there was no stop to him. Initially, law enforcement does have people imitating us, and that's the problem. It's a big problem everywhere in the country.
Now, as I was doing research for this video, I went to go see if Governor Tim Walz is talking about this. He's really not, just reposting a picture of the lawmaker who was assassinated and then posted One Minnesota. So he's not really talking about this, and the FBI actually put out a $50,000 reward if anybody can help give advice for the assassin or the whereabouts or any relevant information.
This was an act of targeted political violence. Peaceful discourse is the foundation of our democracy. We don't settle our differences with violence or at gunpoint. In the state of Minnesota, and as recently as last week, in the most closely divided state legislature in the country, we sat down, we worked things out, we debated, we shook hands and compromised, and we served the state of Minnesota together. We proved that it's possible, even in these politically charged times, to find compromise and adhere to the principles of democracy and civil discourse. We must all, Minnesota and across the country, stand against all forms of political violence. At this precipice moment we're on, this tragic act here in Minnesota should serve as a reminder to all of us. The democracy and the debates in the halls of Congress, in state houses, in school boards, is a way to settle our differences peacefully and move society to a better place.
So right now, Tim Walz has not really talked about this event too much. Again, he has literally lost his friends, his co-workers, colleagues, so this is a time of mourning for Tim Walz. I'm also waiting to see what Donald Trump has to say about the situation. Apparently, as I make this video, they have not talked yet.
Congressman, your thoughts about all the day's news and events?
Well, first, I want to mention my colleagues there, elected officials in Minnesota that were brutally murdered today, and then the other state legislator there who was was shot as well, both them and their spouses. It's just a horrible tragedy. But when you have a president who doesn't show leadership, who creates an environment where he pardons convicted criminals, he himself is a convicted criminal, people are going to think that if they do his bidding, if they support his agenda, that somewhere down the line, he's going to let him go too.
So, unfortunately, this event has also created a massive political divide. You have some people pointing at Donald Trump and even saying, he has a little bit to do with this as well because of the political environment we are in. I am not saying that, but I'm just trying to give you guys an informed opinion to help form yours so you can see what's going on in the full context.
And it includes some locations and individuals from out of state. What does that tell us? It poses the question of what was the ultimate game plan? Was it to continue to get through this list, to go as far down with as many attacks or assassinations as possible until he was stopped by police? What we know now is that at his first location, he did his first attack in the pre-dawn hours of the morning in the darkness, that preemptively police went to the second location where the nearest other elected state official was and ran straight into the suspect. The Brooklyn Park, Minnesota police exchanged shots with the individual, which caused him to flee towards the house and then into the darkness. But that also made him leave that car, all of that evidence, and potentially part of his plan behind. Now, with the idea that they exchanged gunfire, the fact that he was described as wearing a tactical vest, probably body armor, likely bullet resistant. He may be wounded, or the vest may have deflected that, but he is with whatever weapons he had on him, without a vehicle, and still theoretically on the move somewhere in that area that he could have gotten by foot.
Okay, so this is pretty much the update. We don't know a lot as far as this hit list. We don't know all of the names. We just know the major names. As far as where is this guy right now, some people are even claiming he might be up in the Dakotas already. And again, it's been over 24 hours and you can get pretty far, especially if you get access to a vehicle. This is a very dangerous situation, and I do hope that we can come together politically, bring all of our assets together, bring all of our investigative skills together, and help find this guy. Unfortunately, again, if you're on the internet, you even have Christians who are being blamed for this because there's a clip of him talking about Jesus in Africa. And just a side note, if you are a Christian, you know there's something called sin. It doesn't mean a Christian is perfect if this guy is a Christian. I'm just throwing that out there. But again, you have Christians being thrown under the bus, you have Democrats, you have Republicans. Let's first find the guy and then put all the facts together, because again, a lot of people are just inserting their opinion and claiming it's fact. You gotta be very careful in these cases. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. God bless, and we'll see you all later.